Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street.
Chris, win. It's a bit historic, too. U.S. men's national team made the World Cup. And I think in some shocking news, Bruce Arians gone. Well, not totally gone. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got Russell Copeland, who will weigh in. Ron Higgins is going to join us. We'll talk about how LSU stole away Cody Toppert. I'm going to miss Cody Toppert. By the way, Tigers, no transfers. No transfers yesterday. No transfers yet today, but the day is young. And filling in for J-Mo today. J. Morgan Harder out. He's gone to the Final Four. He used to be a basketball coach, so he's going to mingle and intertwine and try to soak it all in. Says there's clinics that are kind of cool. Filling in, Brian Takis. You know him from the afternoon show, Sports Time with Gabe and with Stats. And Brian Takis also happens to be a guy who works for Go Tigers 24/7. So are we going to be quiet today, or what is the Dacus take on transfers?
Well, I think yesterday no transfers. That's a good thing. So that's nice.
Really and truly, left that are important would be Quinones, would be DeAndre Williams, would be Landers Nolly, Lomax and Harris. Out of that grouping, how many leave?
I think 2, possibly. I mean, but I don't think any of the ones that have left already were a result of the allegations, personally. I think Camden and Onu were gone. And I think playing time probably factored with Earl.
Oh, yeah. I don't think this revelation of the notice of allegations, I don't believe that is the impetus for most.
But I've
of
seen
this.
that around kind of social media.
Well, I'm sure recruiters are going to use. They're going to say, "You're going to go to Memphis. You're not going to play in the NCAA next year." Although NC State had worse violations and they got probation. Now they lost their coach. But and I don't think that's the fate for Penny Hardaway. Really don't. No. But they didn't lose postseason play, which could be huge in terms of transfer portal acquisition of talent to come in. I mentioned this yesterday. So I was saddened by Camden.
Yeah.
Onu, to me, he's a married guy now. I don't think he's quite interested as much in basketball as he might have been at one time.
I forgot he was married. Yeah.
And he came in overweight and he's leaving overweight. So I'm not sure he's totally committed. Camden, I'm sorry about, because I think Camden's going to be a good player. I kind of thought he would be back, so I was surprised at that one. I'll tell you the one I'm totally baffled by, and we figured this out yesterday with J-Mo, is Timberlake. Because Timberlake is not a grad student. He's already used the 1 free year. Yeah. So if you do the math, he will be 23 years old the next time he gets to play. Why would you do that?
That's a great question, and that's what I always thought when we went through it on Sports Time of who's coming back, who's going to leave, and I said I don't know about Earl just because of what you said, that one-time transfer rule. He's already used it. He's going to have to go and sit. This would be his third school now, and a guy that came in with a lot of expectations here, even to Miami out of high school had a lot of expectations, but I think that kind of played a role. I think, you can say as a player, I'm not looking at those things. I'm not looking at the draft projections or anything like that, but he's hearing that from his friends. And when you get far into the season where you're coming off the bench and sometimes not even playing, not because you're injured or anything, just because coach doesn't think you can be in this situation, I think that played a lot into it, and I think he just thinks he can play somewhere else. And for him to say, I think I can play more somewhere else, after sitting a year instead of staying at Memphis, I think speaks a lot of just what he thought of his situation.
I personally, he lost confidence in Penny's confidence in him. And that may be the same story for Josh Minot.
Yeah.
Minot, I think Minot could have gotten a very healthy NIL had he stayed. I think Minot truly believes he's going to make it in the NBA, and I have grave reservations about that. Look at the production. Look at where his faults are at this point, starting with an inability to really shoot on any kind of consistent basis. We know the talent is there. Get a little more knowledge defensively, spacing, timing on picks, those kinds of things. And I do think he has the talent to be in the NBA. I don't, and maybe somebody will take a chance late second round, mid second round on that talent, but I don't think he's going to the first round.
No.
And I think if he had come back or go somewhere else, because he's got a free transfer and gets his stock up, he can become a lottery pick and really make more money and put yourself in a better position to have a chance to get to that big time contract. We'll have to wait and see about that. But the biggest baffling to me was Timberlake, and not that I think it's a great loss, honestly, because I believe transfer portal replacement. You can do that with him. I mean, this kid was the best eighth grader because look how he is. That's how he was built when he was in eighth grade. But everybody else got bigger. And until you've got, you can be a small ball four. You should be effective small ball four. But if you can't shoot from the outside, and his dribbling was good enough. His ratio was actually okay. It was positive. So I don't know. But there's plenty in the portal, but you still have all the questions that come from this case that we're still waiting to hear exactly when that'll be. I've got a feeling it's going to be this spring because there's a sense that there'll be some resolution by the middle of summer. Hope that is the case for Penny to be able to go into the portal. The Grizzlies last night, that was a little drama.
A little scary.
They did not play really good defense, but you know what? They got really lucky at the end. I shouldn't say they played good defense in the game. On the last play, it's Popovich. What do you want? He works out a play, and a guy gets to the rim and misses a layup, and the Grizzlies win 112-111. What I find interesting in all this is the fifth 50-win season. This is how good the Southwest Division has been. This is the fifth 50-win season for the Memphis Grizzlies. This is the first time that they have won a divisional title.
Wow. All right, so we had this argument. I've had it with a couple of people. Do you hang a banner for the division?
I think you do.
I think you do too.
Why not?
Exactly.
Do they have Western Conference Finals banner in there?
That's a good question. I don't know. Let me see if I can find that.
Somebody knows, text us on the AutoZone text line 901-360-8255. I really don't know. Is this bigger than the Western Conference Finals? No, it is not. Not in my mind.
But it's still significant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's the first time.
Yeah.
This is how hard Dallas has been so good in that division. Houston has been so good in that division. 5 50-win seasons, and this is the first time, but you win it by a mile. And your number 2 seed locked in. So, if the playoffs started today, by the way, Golden State, they're no longer 2. They're no longer 3. They're down at 4. That's tough. The Mavericks, second in the Southwest Division, a good, 6 games, I think, behind the Grizzlies? They are the number 3 seed now. And the win over the Spurs helps the Lakers. The Lakers are back in postseason, and we went over this yesterday, but that means that Lakers pick, if they get into the playoffs, because it's 11-30 that Memphis gets that first-round pick of the L.A. Lakers. If it's top 4, L.A. keeps it. If it's 5-10, and I don't know how that worked out, but the New Orleans Pelicans get it. And if it's 11-30, the Grizzlies would get it. it really helps if the Lakers get in. And without AD playing and without LeBron playing, that becomes harder. But you did your part to make sure you got that pick by beating the Spurs, who are really in the midst. And now they're a half a game behind the Lakers in that particular position. The shooting from three, so different with Tyus Jones and D'Anthony Baines being your mainstay point guards.
Mm-hmm. It didn't seem like they could miss yesterday. I was actually really surprised of how well Tyus shot the ball specifically. And then you had Melton knock down a couple of shots. Obviously, you're going to get 3 or 4 from Bane every night. I was really surprised last night.
So the 8 of the last 9 games, the league average for shooting threes is 35%. 8 of the last 9 games, the Grizzlies have surpassed the league average, sometimes way up there as high as 50%. Brooks now has scored 20-plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. And Bane and Melton are the reason their averages are so high from three-point range, as you mentioned. And Tyus Jones led the team in scoring last night with 25. He hit some threes, and he had 6 assists, and that's the second game in a row, no turnovers. He had 10 assists game before that without a turnover. He is amazing. So the playoffs scenario now is, I believe Golden State would play Denver in the first round. Wow. That is
That's tough.
Tough first-round matchup. But the Grizzlies would get, and this is really probably the most likely scenario now. The Grizzlies would get the play-in winner between the Timberwolves and the L.A. Clippers. You think that's an easy first-round matchup? No, that shows you how good the West is. Paul George is now back for the Clippers. That changes that team. Who knows about Kawhi Leonard? Would he come back for the playoffs? What kind of shape would he be in if he does? But that changes everything.
Which would you rather see? I mean, because the Timberwolves still, I mean, they beat the Grizzlies at home in FedEx Forum. But like you said, I mean, the Clippers, if they've got all their stars back, obviously we don't know about Kawhi.
I really don't.
Really?
I think
You're that confident?
You're just going to have to play either team.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And maybe you want to play Minnesota because they're younger. They don't have that playoff DNA. That's probably the way that I would lean, because there is definitely a different level of physicality, of mentality, of adjustment that is made with the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I've heard so many people say, and they're wiser than I am, so many people who have a lot of experience covering or playing in the NBA, young teams who haven't been in many playoff battles have to learn the differences. I'm not sure the Grizzlies are there, but maybe the Timberwolves aren't.
That's true.
I can tell you Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have. So probably, I guess, if you're going to put a gun to my head and say, which one you going to play? I would probably play the Minnesota Timberwolves. There was a very interesting article from Brian Windhorst on ESPN+. It was on Robert Pera and his evolution from how he struggled when he first bought this team financially, how David Stern really sort of gave him a break, how just a few years ago he came up with the money easily to purchase from that Los Angeles group the majority percentage of ownership of the team. And it goes over how when he first purchased it, he had a meeting somewhere with Pitt Hyde, and how Pitt Hyde talked to him about when he was young and he met one of the Waltons. And, he aspired to sort of be that same sort of way. Basically, the Waltons brought a lot of supply to rural America. Well, that's exactly what Pera did with the internet. He brought to underserved countries the internet. And even though he struggled and had that moment where he was accused of fraud and had to go before the stock exchange to testify about his positions, which he overcame, he has gone from a guy who was one time when he bought the Grizzlies under $1 billion. His net worth, according to Brian Windhorst at ESPN, is now $15 billion.
Oh, wow.
He is the third wealthiest owner in the NBA. The Steve Ballmer, who's worth $100 billion, is number one. I'm trying to remember. There's somebody else that was worth, I want to say $20 or $30 billion. It'll come to me, or Brian Takis will figure it out for me. And then here comes Robert Pera with $15 billion. I bring this up because he brings it up to make this point. Robert Pera may be very willing to spend into the tax. He's already committed to Triple J. You know darn well he's going to commit the max to Ja. That's done. Now, what happens with Tyus Jones? Can you afford really to pay a backup point guard the kind of money that Tyus Jones can get somewhere else? If you're willing to go in the tax, you can.
Yeah.
Are you willing to pay Brandon Clark, who's proven now he is a rotation NBA player, probably a top 8 rotation guy, critical off the bench, gives you spring, has a great attitude. Can you afford him when he's ready to go? How about Desmond Bane? Desmond Bane, we know, is a top-notch all-around player now. His decision to go to, as a sophomore, to the summer league and learn how to be a point guard, learn more about being a overall player other than catch and shoot, has made him a valuable asset.
Mm-hmm.
He's certainly worth investing in. You already got Brooks, and you got him on a good deal.
Yeah.
Can you afford all those and stay under the cap? If you can't, the point is he's got the money. He seems to have the interest in it to go over the cap and keep these guys. If that is the case, with all these picks that Memphis has, if they make the right picks, and why wouldn't they? What bad pick has that Kleiman made?
They haven't.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a run that could be incredible for the next 8 to 10 years at FedEx Forum.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about just the team chemistry they have. I mean, I think I heard you talk about it earlier, maybe this week or last week. And you said you've never seen something like that from an NBA team. You've seen it from college teams.
I tell you exactly when it happened. It was
the Brooklyn game.
It was just a couple of games ago when Bane was
being interviewed
talking.
after
It was
the
the
game.
ESPN game. Oh, yeah, it was
the Brooklyn game. Yeah,
right. So Malika Andrews is interviewing him, and the whole team comes over. I'll tell you one other moment that I went, this is a college team, was when Ja got 52.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's calling everybody over. They're going to do the 50 picture.
Yeah.
I mean, what pro teams do that? Even Michael Jordan's team, which, you know, they were pretty together.
Yeah.
Now they had an order of importance, and Michael Jordan was the king.
Yeah.
And he let Scottie Pippen, who was number 2, know he was the king. But no, I can't think of any team that has had this kind of exuberance.
No.
But you've got to remember, the league in years prior, other great teams, they were older.
Yeah.
I mean, this team
He's young.
DeAndre Williams, who may be coming back, is 26 years old.
Yeah.
He's older than the majority of the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
This is a young team. What Triple J's 22, Ja's 22 or 21.
Yeah, 22.
Bane is 21 or 22.
Yeah.
They're all young guys. Dylan Brooks is the oldest guy. What is he, 24?
He's, 24,
of the critical
25.
guys. I mean, Steven Adams is the old guy.
But I think that plays a role into this because, you know, all of them could still, or most all of them could still be on a college campus with a college team. So I think just the youth, Dylan Brooks is 26, but
26.
just the youth.
That's your veteran.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Well,
DeAndre Williams.
Steven Adams is
the veteran.
But there you go. That's exactly right. He's the same age
Yeah.
as DeAndre Williams.
Yeah. So I think that just plays a role into it. Is these guys are all so young and they're just at that level where the team chemistry is so big, and I'm sure, you know, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure they all hang out together outside of practice and games.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a big role. And so if you're Robert Pera and you can go over and get some of these guys back, I mean, that it definitely doesn't hurt.
No. All right, switching gears real quick because we're going to get in the NFL with Russell coming up. There's two quick things. Bruce Arians out at Tampa as the head coach. He stays. He gets his money. He's going to be an assistant to the general manager or the owner, the Glazers. So this is my quick take on this. We mentioned before Tom Brady was not a happy camper about the Antonio Brown happening. And that, I think, is why he decided he was going to retire or not play for Tampa anymore. Because there were rumors that he was going to finish his career. He was retiring, but then he was going to rethink it, get Giselle's blessing, and go to where he's from, play for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, the Glazers, the owners of the Bucs, made him an offer he couldn't refuse. He was on a trip to London. He was at one of their soccer games. They own a soccer team there. I think it's Manchester United. And they basically met his terms. And in my estimation, those terms are, I'm coming back, but here's who I want to play for us. You got to go after these free agents. And I'm not going to play for Bruce Arians.
Wow.
I love Byron Leftwich. I want him to be the OC. And Arians, I think, made sure when he agreed to all this that Todd Bowles would be the head coach, the defensive coordinator, but you keep your OC, you keep that continuity. And Arians is on as a consultant basically through the end of however long his contract was. He's not the healthiest guy in the world, so it probably wasn't that hard a thing. But this was, I think, the plan of Tom Brady.
That's interesting.
And I think he had to get his folks, and he got his folks. And that's the way that worked out. Last thing, the United States men's national team qualified for the World Cup last night by losing 2-0 to Costa Rica. Yeah, they have never won in Costa Rica in a World Cup qualifier. They're 0-10-1, one draw.
Wow. But
they couldn't lose by more than 5 goals, so they lost 2-0. It was a very physical game. I mean, it could have been a 0-0 draw, really.
Yeah.
There were a couple of headers with some pushing going on.
Didn't they score their 2 goals like right back to back? It was like really close together.
They were close to one another, and they were all on set pieces, on corner kicks, where I think the U.S. feels like they got away with holding, pushing, shoving, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So they did the pots today. There are 4 World Cup pots. Pot 1, 2, 3, and 4. The U.S. is in pot 2, which consists of Mexico, the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, Uruguay, Switzerland, Croatia, and the USA. That's really not a bad pot.
No.
Let me tell you, the pot 1, this is crazy. If you look at the world rankings, they're all in there. The home country is in pot 1. That's Qatar, which is why it's being played in November, because you're not going to play that in July. It'll be 120 degrees in the day. Brazil, Belgium, those are 1, 2 in the world. France, I think, is 3. Argentina, England, Spain, Portugal. All those are in the top 10
That's insane.
of the FIFA rankings. That's the craziest. And only 4 guys get out of that pot to play in the knockout round. So wild how they did that. So the U.S. got a break in that. U.S. now ranked number 15 in the new FIFA rankings, which would tell you they should make the knockout round. We'll see. It'll be fun. I really cannot wait. So that sort of sets us up for today. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure studio, and I got to tell you, they got so many beautiful patio pieces out there right now. My wife and I are going Saturday. We're looking for a teak piece. They have some teak. It's being built right now, I am told, by my friend Billy. Go see Billy. Go see Lindsay. She runs the place. They got pools in stock ready for purchase. They've got this furniture that is unbelievable. It's the 2022 line. You know, it's all state-of-the-art. Play gyms, by the way, and trampolines. Tramps, those things are interesting now because they have this mesh. They're safe. You'll be the mom and dad of the neighborhood if you get one of those, I promise. Grills, outdoor kitchens, that's the newest thing. They got it all at Family Leisure. Our title sponsor, you know, that's Homer. Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where they've raised the bar. Go see. You get on Lamar. It's Highway 78. First exit Mississippi, Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang. And I'll tell you this, Chris True says, we don't care about the shortage. You will never pay more than sticker price for any new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. That's not true everywhere. Go see the people that'll take care of you at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Back in a minute, we will chat NFL and this whole thing with Tom Brady with our friend Russell Copeland. He comes your way in a minute.
Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio, presented by Tito's Vodka, from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, friends. I'm Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and for 5 decades, we've been the personal jeweler to thousands of Memphians and Mid-Southerners. For many, many years, we've been offering the finest and beautiful jewelry to help our customers celebrate those very special occasions and let their loved ones know just how treasured they are. Diamonds and gemstones are our specialty, and set in whatever she wants, a ring or a pendant, a pair of earrings or a bracelet. We search the world's most fabulous jewelry markets, looking for pieces that are not only exquisite and beautiful, but that are also unique and eye-catching. We can help you make her smile in a way that neither one of you will ever forget. Come see us at Russell Brothers Jewelers. Let us put our many years of experience to work for you. Let us help you say, I love you in the most wonderful way you can imagine. 5 decades providing beauty, value, quality, and service. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
The Jeep Celebration event means huge savings at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike. 2021 Jeep Renegade Latitude, we Gossett at $369 a month. Need muscle in your life? 2022 Dodge Charger XST, $487 a month. 2022 Ram 1500 Tradesman Quad Cab, $529 a month. And 2021 Fiat 500X Pop, we Gossett at $359 a month. Plus, trade up and we'll give you more for your ride at Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat. So drive past the rest and come to the best, or shop online anytime at GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 75 months at 3.99, 3,500 down, must finance through Chrysler, Renegade, MPN 28108, MSRP 28.5, Charger, NH 126525, MSRP 36,780, 1500, NS 148,242, MSRP 39,010, Pop MP 944,748, MSRP 28,560, includes all rebates and incentives, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/21/2022, dealer stock only.
Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers a $150 instant bonus guaranteed. That's right. You'll get $150 in bonus site credit, and all you have to do is place your first bet of $5 or more. How you bet the bracket? Well, it's up to you. You could choose from the money line, totals, prop bets, and so much more. Join FanDuel today with promo code BIGHEAD. Then you can place your $5 bet to score $150 in bonus site credit guaranteed. That's promo code BIGHEAD on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
This portion of our show also brought to you, besides the good folks at Homer, wonderful institution known as Memphis's Spirit Distillery. That's Old Dominic. You know that by now. Been around a long time. You go for a tour. It's the only distillery that has a tour. It's right there at 305 South Front Street in the heart of downtown. You'll learn about the founder. That's old Domenico Canali, who came over from the old country, built an empire. Then you get a lesson on how you distill, the craft of distilling from grain to glass, and then it ends with a curated tasting of the old Dominic portfolio of spirits. And that's the most fun. But by the way, you can buy those spirits there. You can buy them all over town, like at the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. But also, you can go to their bar. They have this bar that is elegant, not stuffy. And if you fancy an old-fashioned made by a mixologist, my friends, you will love Old Dominic right there at 305 South Front Street. I love chatting with my friend Russell Copeland on the National Football League. Russell, thank you. And give me your take. I just said I think this whole thing, Arians out, Leftwich staying, and of course, Todd Bowles in as head coach was all orchestrated by one quarterback / GM named Tom Brady.
Well, absolutely. And, first of all, Dave, I think Bruce Arians has been an outstanding coach, finally getting his chance, at 58 years of age, being a head coach for the Arizona Cardinals and being the oldest coach to win a Super Bowl. I think when you look at Bruce Arians as a coach, I think from health issues a few years ago and him winning the Super Bowl, I think, honestly, he wanted to leave being on top. But he decided to come back one more year. Now, when you look at what happened with Antonio Brown, I think there is some validity to what Antonio Brown did say, even though we know Antonio Brown has a lot of issues. I think Tom Brady is the main reason that Antonio Brown was in New England and the main reason why Antonio Brown was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With all of that, the sudden departure of how Antonio Brown departed, I don't think it set well with Tom Brady. Now, when you bring Tom Brady back, you alluded to it, / general manager, I think there's a rift between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. So to make everyone happy, you have Tom Brady, the GOAT, coming back. Antonio Brown's not going to come back. So I think Bruce Arians says, okay, I'll leave. The team is in good positions. Tom Brady is here. I'll go to the front office, so to speak. I'm handing it over to an outstanding coach and Todd Boyles. And that's where we sit, because the timing, if you look at Tom Brady coming back and now all of a sudden Bruce Arians is stepping down, I think there is some validity between Tom Brady and Antonio Brown. I think that whole issue.
I agree. I think one of the things that Arians was insistent upon was that Bowles take over for him. And I think as far as Leftwich goes, I think Brady was also insistent that he stay in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just look at the staff that Bruce Arians had assembled. I think he had more minority coaches than any other staff. When you look at African Americans, when you look at women, I think he put together a staff. When you look at the offensive coordinator, as far as Byron Leftwich, he had 2 African Americans coordinators in both Bowles and Leftwich. I think he did a tremendous job. And everything that I've heard when I was playing in the National Football League, that he's a player's coach, he's a fair coach. It's just very unfortunate that the incident happens with Antonio Brown. And that's kind of what happens when you bring a lightning rod into your locker room with Antonio Brown.
All right, let me switch gears and talk about 2 things that occurred this week that are interesting. You mentioned African American and women. The Rooney Rule addresses minorities, and that is spelled out by definition, by the way, in this newest legislation that says the league has a pool and that every NFL team must hire a minority assistant. That can be a woman, or it could be ethnic or racial minority. And that person must work on the offensive side of the ball with the head coach, basically to groom them to become a head coach. And the assumption there is that more offensive coaches become head coaches, which I'm not sure is totally accurate. What is your take of that move?
Well, I think first and foremost, it is a step in the right direction. And as far as offensive coordinators, Dave, I've said it before. I think when you look at the trend of the National Football League, more offensive coordinators are becoming head coaches. I mean, you talked about it yourself with the Chicago Bears. And
then they went and hired a DC.
Absolutely. Because you felt like that the quarterback position for the Chicago Bears would be best served if the head coach had an offensive background to help your young quarterback. And I think the trend is when you look at offensive coordinators becoming head coaches, that's the trend. You look at the head coaches now that have gotten new positions. Most of them have offensive coordinator backgrounds. You look at Peterson. He was a backup quarterback. He won a Super Bowl. Now he comes with Jacksonville. So the list goes on, and I think it is a step in the right direction. For me, I'm a type of person that I want to be able to see it happen. I don't agree with every African American coach that goes up for a job. If he doesn't get it, it's because he's an African American. I do not think that. But I do think that time and time again, there has been African-American offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators that I think were better suited to be head coaches than some other coaches that have been set up. I like it, but let's just get to see how it all plays out. Will we see more African Americans as head coaches, more African Americans as offensive coordinators?
I agree. Time will tell. It clearly is a step up in hoping to attain that goal. And the other interesting aspect for me is this is mandatory. And by the way, owners, you're not going to have to individually pay for this. This is going to come out of the league resources, so we're paying it for you. That means it is, in my mind, going to get done. The other thing was the overtime rule. Both teams get possessions. To me, that makes the most sense. I don't understand why you didn't have that, especially for the playoffs. I could understand if you didn't have it regular season. Okay, you even have ties in the regular season. But in an elimination game, that just was not right to say that a coin flip could determine the winner. And how many times, I think I read this, like 60 or 70% of the time, the team that wins the coin toss did score some points in that first possession.
Well, here's my take, and I'm going to be different from most. I feel like players play 60 minutes. And in those 60 minutes, you go into overtime. Defensive players get paid to stop the opposition. I'm all about sudden death. Your defense gets on the field, and the way the rule was set up before, if you hold them to a field goal, your offense, your quarterback, gets an opportunity. Your defense has to play. They get paid to play. If the opposition does not score, then your offense gets back on the field. What I think should have been changed is a tie, Dave. I feel like in the National Football League, players play too hard for any game in the regular season to end in a tie. You've played 60 minutes. I think those players, those coaching staff, they put in the work. It deserves for a winner to be determined. Now, when you look at it, I understand quarterbacks. The league is driven by quarterbacks. The quarterback salaries are so high. I think with the salary being high, I think every team and coaches and also fans want to see their top quarterback get an opportunity with the football. So I do understand it, but for me, I'm old school. I think your defense needs to step up and play. I love the Buffalo Bills. If the Buffalo Bills defense come up with a stop, then I think the Buffalo Bills advance and beat Patrick Mahomes. Their defense did not get it done. It's just that simple. We can't say, hey, man, I think that the Bills should have gotten on the offensive side of the football. They should have had the opportunity. Your defense should have stopped them. You had, 15 seconds? You had 15 seconds. If your defense cannot stop Patrick Mahomes for going 45, 50 yards in 15 seconds, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. That's my take on it.
I respectfully disagree. I think no game should be decided on a coin flip. And I think both teams would have scored in that game. There's no doubt in my mind about it. And so play it out. Now, I do think it is interesting because if I listen to you correctly there, you're saying take away overtime in the regular season?
I think, yes. No, I'm not saying take away overtime. I think a winner needs to be determined.
So there shouldn't be a tie. Okay.
No, there should not be a tie in the National Football League.
Well, Well, that's the way it's going to end up being now, right? Because if both teams get possessions, there's going to be a winner.
That's the way I think it should have been in the regular season. Period.
Although you can still play 10 minutes, right, in the regular season and still end up with a tie. I can see that, but that's pretty rare.
But absolutely. Look, I understand it. You look at Josh Allen. You look at all the quarterbacks that were in the playoffs. Teams want offense sells tickets, defense wins football games, and I'll say it time and time again. And I'm just an old school, and I'm a receiver. I want to get an opportunity to catch passes. But your defense, what is your defense on the field for? What do you have 3 phases of football for? You have 3 phases of football. Your offense has to score points, your defense has to stop, and your special teams have to be special when they're called upon. And at the end of the day, if your defense can hold that team to 3 points, your offense gets on the field. That's just my take. But I will enjoy seeing both teams get an opportunity to play, because I love the way the offense is. I love the quarterbacks, but I just feel like your defense has an opportunity to make a play. They should step up and make a play.
All right, last thing before we let you go away from the NFL, it's the Tigers. Of course, you're on the U of M football broadcast with us. And what do you think is the number one storyline going into spring camp that is not a quarterback battle?
Well, I think both coordinators. That's going to be the storyline for me. How are the team adjusting to both offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators coming in? And I think that will play out going into the season, which will lead into the quarterback battle and also will lead into the players coming back to see what type of defense will be run and see if they can get out to a better start when the season starts than they have been in the past from a defensive standpoint.
He's our guy, Russell Copeland. Have a great week. We'll talk next Thursday, my friend.
Thank you, Dave.
Russell Copeland on the National Football League and more. He's brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and that $69 Super Saver Energy Tune-Up. That's where they go in, and inside there's 16 points that they make sure are efficient. Then they go outside and they clean those units. You might have two, like I do, and they clean them, like taking your air conditioning system to the car wash. All the years of dirt and leaves and grime, it all comes out. And now your system becomes more efficient, which means that you save on your MLGW bill. And here's the other thing about the tune-ups. Along with the safety inspection you get in the winter and the free-on check that you get in the spring, your system lasts longer when it's tuned up. It's worth $69 twice a year. I promise. 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and this portion of the show is also brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group. That's the team led by Matt Eflin. He's got a bunch of guys, and they do insurance in a collaborative way. They get to know you. They want to find out about your family, what your prospects are, what you think your future is all about, what's important for you to protect, and where your pocketbook is. And then they pick out the perfect company for home insurance, for auto insurance, for life insurance that fits your needs. Same thing with businesses. If you've got a small to mid-sized business, the Eflin Insurance Group should be your specialist, virtually unlimited access to protect you once they've learned about you. All you got to do is call 901-386-GER. That's 4777. He's got that number in there because he's a huge Tiger guy. That's the Eflin Insurance Group. They do it collaboratively. Back in a minute to Baton Rouge we go. And our friend Ron Higgins, SEC historian, he comes your way in a second.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes from Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Mount Moriah Auto Sales. What sets them apart? Great selection, quality, high-end to low-end cars, and low mileage. Mount Moriah Auto Sales is under new management. Ask for Emmett or Steven. Check out their great selection of cars or trucks. Choose from Dodges, Jeeps, Fords, GMCs, Infinitis, Porsches, Range Rovers, Lexus, Mercedes, BMWs, even Bentleys. Mount Moriah Auto Sales also has a great service department with 12 bays for everything from oil changes to alignment to new tires. Go to MountMoriahAutoSales.com. Pick out your like new car or truck today. Mount Moriah Auto Sales, right on the corner and right on the price.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
If you have damage to your home and have your insurance carrier involved, you need a great contractor. You also need a team that has seen claims of all shapes and sizes, residential or commercial. After our inspection, we'll share our findings and give you our professional opinion. Some people say you get what you pay for. However, our opinion is free. Trust the name you can depend on, like the tens of thousands of families Brian and I have served over the past 20 years here in the Mid-South. Brian Elder Roofing. We'll measure your roof from outer space and share our team's experience for your property and claim. Repaired roofs, replacement roofs, big roofs, tiny roofs, insurance roofs, flat roofs, TPO roofs, asphalt roofs, tile roofs, slate roofs, metal roofs. If your roof needs some love, call me. 901-867-0303 for Brian Elder Roofing and Contracting.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Found a great new restaurant in Horn Lake, Mississippi, Mr. Q's Sloppy Joe's on Highway 51, Horn Lake, Mississippi. Bring back those childhood memories from homemade Sloppy Joe's to to mouth-watering cheeseburgers, spicy or regular fries, chicken tenders, chicken wings, jumbo hot dogs. Just a little secret, Sloppy Joe's has got that nachos cheese on it. On fire, delicious. Fried catfish that melts in your mouth. Light batter too, even homemade lemon cake. Check us out. Don't forget Q's Sloppy Joe's. Daily breakfast from 7A to 10A. Try Q's Big Breakfast. 3 homemade gigantic pancakes, 3 meats, 3 eggs for $10.75. Generous portions. Come hungry. Mr. Q's Sloppy Joe's, 5441 Highway 51. Just 20 minutes from Memphis. Can't miss it. Beautiful old brick house. Mr. Q's Sloppy Joe's, 5441 Highway 51, Horn Lake, Mississippi.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Baton Rouge we go in a minute. We'll talk SEC, LSU stealing Cody Toppert. Matt McMahon got away with one there. And the Final Four, of which Ron Higgins knows an awful lot about and covered so many, and it's in his backyard down in New Orleans. He's brought you in part by James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. That is the men's store of Memphis, and all the spring and summer fashions have arrived. And, of course, that's the home of the Stant system, the only place in Memphis you can get the Stant Custom Fit system, which uses this new technology, 2 measurements or 3 measurements, depending on pants or shirt, fed into a computer, and an algorithm spits out the perfect fit for you. I promise. I've got several of them, and I'm going to see him on Saturday. Because my son is getting married here. We're getting him a suit. I don't know if they have the custom Stant system, but they have custom fitting for a suit no matter what. And it's always great service. All you got to do is walk through the door. You'll be taken care of. The Stant system and all the new fashions, they are at the James Davis Men's Store. So to Baton Rouge we go. What's the take, Ron Higgins, of the new assistant coach you guys got, Cody Toppert, which I can tell you was a great pickup for you guys?
That's what I understand. I have some people in Memphis who know him. In fact, I think one of his kids went to my son's old school, one of my son's old school, Christ the King Lutheran over there. So I think they tell me he's a great guy. Looking forward to working with him, talking to him. Matt McMahon's put together a pretty good staff so far, and they lost 7 players already, but they picked up 2, and one of them's from Murray State, their best player. So it's going to be a tedious process, and we still don't have no clue what kind of probation we're going to get. But I got to tell you this: I see all these Memphis fans sweating their probation and what they're going to get. I don't think they're going to get anything worse than what LSU's going to get. Honestly, LSU had many more Level 1 violations. They had much more deceit. So, and if Memphis gets more than LSU gets on probation, that just proves to you the NCAA, picks on what they consider not major schools. Even though I consider Memphis a major basketball program and a major in football now in a lot of ways, but honestly, I just can't see Memphis getting more than LSU because I think LSU was much worse and much more deceit and much more.
Oh, sure. The violations are much more egregious, and they got on tape this dialogue, and that's why Will Wade is no longer with them. But I think to see the Memphis punishment, and who knows, I don't for sure, but if we look at some sort of precedent, North Carolina State had more Level 1 violations by 1 than the University of Memphis, and they lost their coach. I don't think that's going to happen in the Memphis case, but they did. They lost Mark Gottfried, and they lost some scholarships, but they got probation. They didn't have a postseason ban, and maybe that's exactly what happens in this case if you go by precedent.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you don't get a postseason ban. Honestly, with LSU, I can't see them getting anything. If they got 1 year postseason ban, I'd be pleasantly surprised because I actually think they might get hit with 2, but we'll see. I just, they gave this new coach time to rebuild, to give him a long contract, and try to get it done right. So, and honestly, now But with the NIL, you don't have to cheat. You just find yourself a good NIL guy to pay players. You know, I mean,
that's right.
That's what it works now.
Well,
so,
you know, schools are now basically forming with a accredited sort of firm the ability to ask boosters to put money into a fund that will then serve for the NIL.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think LSU has eventually done that. They had a local attorney in town who kind of started putting some stuff together before LSU did. But yeah, it's kind of the way of the world now, you know. So I mean, somebody asked me, you know, who I'd like to see win the Final Four. I said Villanova. I said why? He said why? I said that's the only one I know who probably didn't cheat. I mean, look, Duke more than likely bought Zion. Okay.
Well, Duke, let's face it. Duke in this team has 3 NBA players. I mean, if we're looking, and this is the way Mike DeCourcy says, your old buddy Mike, he says, you got to have at least one NBA guy in order to win a national title. They got 3.
Yeah. You know, North Carolina, we all know about their academic stuff. They got off the hook on that.
Yeah.
And Kansas is just telling the NCAA in your face. Okay.
Oh, well, they have Bill Self on tape too. He's somehow skated away from all this.
Well, you know what Kansas does is they not only give Bill Self a new contract, they put a clause in there that he can't be fired for NCAA violations.
Well, it's the most amazing thing. And if you recall 2008, you know, they bag Memphis and vacate the 38 wins and all of that. And that is – they cleared Derrick Rose, right? And they'll have no proof about him cheating on any kind of ACT test. They speculate. But how about this, Carroll?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They have – a false transcript from his Dallas high school that is proven, and there was no penalties whatsoever because they won.
Yeah, I mean that's the damnedest thing. The guy's ineligible. All right, they falsify transcript and they win. So okay, they won. Wow, it's just I don't know if you know. With the NIL now, I don't know what the NCAA can exactly enforce
because it's legal to pay them. That's why it's legal to pay them. The only thing you could get now would be academic fraud, and we saw North Carolina get away with that, and they were doing that for 15 or 20 years, for goodness sake.
Oh yeah, and they had more evidence on them than by an American on academic fraud. And they still found a loophole and got out of it.
Yeah.
It's just
Before I run out of time, tell me who you think survives the Saturday games.
Golly, I'm gonna take Duke in Kansas. Even though, like I said, I would love Villanova to win.
Yeah.
I just think Jay Wright's a hell of a coach, and
he is.
He's done the right way, the clean way. Great coach. I'm gonna say Kansas and Duke. Yeah.
Kansas and Duke, and then so who wins the Monday showdown?
I'm gonna go. I think Duke. I think at this point they're really inspired.
So that will be the story. That would be, what would that be? 103 tournament wins for Coach K, and he goes out with a national title like John Wooden did.
Yeah, obviously they're playing a lot better, much more inspired, and we'll see what happens. The only one thing that certainly we know this weekend is that New Orleans will never run out of liquor, no matter how big the event. So just remember that.
That is a certainty. I would bet on that forever. I'm with you, Ron Higgins. Enjoy the games in your favorite city, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Great. Congrats on the son's marriage, Wolo. Way to go, son.
Thank you. Yeah. Nathan, going to get married in May at the Botanic Gardens. Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Nathan, get married. I feel ancient. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're getting there, but we've survived. That's the good news. That is the good news. That is Ron Higgins. He's brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows you're making a commitment. You're building that dream home. So he knows you're out there with that fiscal commitment. He's there with a guidance commitment. He works closely with all his clients to ensure that they get what they should expect. Quality, really quality construction. On time, on budget. And that's a promise. And he's done it for over 50 years. His dad started the company. He's taken it over. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see all of the beautiful palaces that he has built throughout our Memphis area. Or if it's renovation, he does the same thing. You want the modern amenities. You want the California closets. You want the kitchen island. You want a movie room with speakers in the walls. He does that for you. He does it beautifully. 751-1632. Go to kengarland.com and then make the call. We thank Ron Higgins and we thank Russell Copeland. Johnny Radio is next, so don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Have a great day, everybody.
Sure, this spot for Sweetgrass next